Hello. Now, everybody's going on about the aliens in the ocean that, we've seen, our US Navy saw alien ships or something coming out of the ocean and it's all over the place. Did you catch that?
Well, it's not the first time either.
Mm,
The big Tic Tac thing that happened
mm,
a couple months ago. Well, a couple years ago, I guess now.
yeah. Mm,
Which actually that was floating around a little bit. Jeremy Corbell said that he had it for a couple years even before that. So yeah, I mean USOs, unidentified submersible objects, have been a
right.
thing for a very, very long time. Um,
Mm,
and the fact that they're the only thing really interesting about it is that when it pops up like this, it's popping up mainstream. Like
mm-hmm.
it's because it has been so pushed off to the fringes for so many all our lives essentially until what the last few years, like
Mm-hmm.
since we've had um, congressional um,
Right.
hearings about it, about other UFOs and stuff like that, and now it's popping up that the British news is covering our
Mm-hmm.
coverage of, which is interesting that our news isn't covering it, but theirs is.
Right. Yeah.
But at
I
any rate,
actually have I'm going to share my screen here in a second. And this is I don't know, from the LBC. Um, I think it's from London or Britain or something. They're talking about what the U.S. Navy saw. So let me see if I can share my screen. We won't play it all, just a few minutes of the clip. Let's see. All right. Can you see it?
uh-huh.
Video showing a white orb UFO coming out of the ocean off Kuwait has been found on the US Department of Defense's own network, a congressional hearing was being told last night. This is evidence given to the House of Representatives on unidentified anomalous phenomena, UAPs. The journalist Michael Schallenberger said he had been told of the footage by a source in recent weeks. He said the 13-minute-long high-definition colour video was of the orb 20 miles off the Kuwait coast and was filmed from a helicopter. Tom Rogan is a journalist at the Washington Examiner covering security and intelligence issues, including UAPs. Thanks for coming on the programme, Tom. Tell us who gave evidence at this hearing, who they are and what they said.
Yeah, good to be with
Right. So what do you think of that? What are your thoughts? I mean, this it just seems weird. It's just right after the election, all of a sudden, here we are.
Right, and that's the other thing that is always really interesting to me when these things pop up too, is why
Mhm.
why are they mainstream and what are they distracting us from?
It could be
uh
very well that they are. I think that if they are using it as a distraction, the world has become a more evil place than we really even imagined. Because, yeah, of course, that'd be the biggest distraction ever. Everybody wants to know: is there aliens? Are they really out there? So that I think that means that we're kind of doomed if they're trying to distract us that hard. Um, but I don't know. It just seems really weird. I mean, or on the flip side, could it mean that we're really in danger? I mean, do they really know something more? And
well, I mean, personally, I think there is a high chance of us being in danger of from our government a lot more than
I agree.
from
I
being
agree. Yeah.
from outside, something from the stars.
Mhm. And I think we'll get into more about if aliens are here right now. But I think it's interesting, though, that um, it just falls right along with what's happening politically. But as I told you off camera, it reminds me of the H.P. Lovecraft character Cthulhu. And I think I'm saying that correctly, the name.
Hmm.
The giant, what is it? Octopus or squid looking monster.
Hmm.
Um, and in, I think it was 1996, somebody published Cthulhu for President, which was during an election period, campaigns and all that. Um, at the time, there was their vision, just like Project 25, somebody's vision, but at that time it was Contract on America. So they had Cthulhu parodying that, and it was Contract with America. And so then suddenly it was Cthulhu for president, vote for the lesser evil, or the why vote for the lesser evil. I guess making fun of, presidencies, and see if I can find a picture of that. I think it's hilarious and all, but my gosh, what if now that we know that there's potential aliens out there, what if it's really true? What if there's an octopus in the ocean that's gonna take over?
The other thing that you and I messaged back and forth a little bit earlier too.
Mhm.
It depends on what you call alien.
Agreed. Agreed.
In the H.P. Lovecraft, these are the gods of old.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
these are the ancient gods that are the titans in the that the ancients
Right.
would worship and fear.
Mhm.
Which, if if life is on cycles, which it seems like empires are on cycles, that they come
Mm.
and go, and they rise and fall every 200-ish years or so. It would make sense that um, on a spiritual level, gods would come back, every
Right.
2,000 years, maybe.
Right.
I don't know,
Mhm.
millennia. I mean,
Mhm. Well, like
you
the
know,
old Aztec. I come from Mexican descent, so you've heard all the Aztec stories, and they had so many years the god would rule, and if they failed, then another god would take over, and just strange tales like that. But yeah.
see, yeah, that kind of makes sense to me though, too. Like,
Mhm.
I mean, Christianity has risen, and other faiths have fallen before that. And I
Mhm.
mean, it's, I don't know. We're in a time of change. That is the
Agreed.
only thing that we can definitively say, I think.
I think so. And I think that there's a lot of people afraid of that change. And so they're clinging
Mm,
to old values and won't allow us to move forward. Now, some of the things we want to move forward on are a little bit ridiculous. So I think in all ways, in all sides, in all parties, things are out of control. Doesn't matter what political party you are, what belief you are, everything has spiraled out of control, particularly in this country. So,
mm.
you know, I don't know that maybe we do need aliens. I don't think that as humans are going to be able to, not in the United States anyway. I don't know how we're going to find a balance because it's without getting into politics. Both sides I've witnessed on like my Facebook or
Mm.
personal feeds, and you're like, why are you so nasty to each other? Um, it's all done. It's over. It's what is going to happen, and that's it, right? But there are people. I see it in daily life. People yelling at each other, talking trash, but for what? Because that's going to make it any better. So I think people are resistant to change. So,
They are. We like our comfort, and change is scary for people. Um,
but it's the only thing that's constant.
and,
So,
and it's the only way we're going to grow
mhm,
as individuals and human
mhm,
species altogether.
right,
We're not gonna, if we don't change, we're gonna the only change, the only choice is either ascend or regress. I mean, either you're going forward or you're going backwards.
right. I agree. I think people would prefer to stay stagnant, you know?
Hmm.
That's what they were.
It's
It's
easier.
easy to stay that way. Yeah.
Hmm.
Change is hard and evolving is hard, learning is hard. I think I'm most mad about that, regardless of politics or opinions. I feel like education is dying. It's not a valued
Mm.
thing anymore.
It's kind of been dead, I think.
Yeah. It's not right though. If you stop educating yourself, you stop evolving. So
Hmm.
you stop learning, you stop evolving.
Well,
So
that's the other thing is people are afraid to find out that the stuff that they were taught was wrong.
mhm. But it's true, and I mean, I think I've had to work my own way through that. I think in one of our other episodes that we did, I talked about being raised. Maybe it was Halloween. I was raised very strict Catholic, and then as you grow up and you make your own way in the world, you're like, wait a minute, some of this doesn't make sense. So
Right,
others
right.
can believe what they want, but I mean, I can't subscribe to it anymore. So
Because
no
you've
shame to
grown.
anybody, huh?
No shame. No shame. We've
Mhm.
grown. We grow
Yep.
in different ways. We change.
Hmm. So, but as far as aliens here, though, I think that if we stay along the lines of the thoughts that they are here or they are coming, I think the number one question I get a ton of emails all the time from different people that listen to the different episodes, and they're like, "But if they're here or they're on their way, why haven't they attacked us? Like, or if they're just kind of poking around and we're seeing these UAPs or UFOs, why aren't they attacking us?" And I have thoughts on that, but what are your thoughts?
Why? Well, why would they have to attack us? I mean, it.
Not
I don't.
necessarily attack, but take
I,
over, you know? What's the purpose of them being here is the question I get even more.
maybe
Uh,
they're trying to get us to ascend too. Maybe the point is not to attack, or
mm,
maybe they're waiting for us to get to a point where we are ready for the change.
I'm
Like the
pretty
change is
sure they're
coming, whether we
gonna
like it or not.
mhm,
They're just waiting for us to, you know, wake up.
evolve and open our eyes. I'm pretty sure they're
Right.
gonna be waiting for a long time. Just based on what's going on in the
That-
world, it's like we're going backwards, not forward. So, um,
Well, if the aliens are the gods of old and, that kind of idea, then they've been waiting a long time.
yeah,
But
true.
if time is different to something like that, an entity like
Mm,
that, then maybe it's not that big a deal for them to wait 1,000 years.
maybe. Um, my other thought is that they need us. Perhaps let's
Hmm.
just stay with the theory that they're here already, right? That's why we see UFOs and strange beings at times, but can't prove it, you know. Um, you see strange occurrences in different places, particularly the desert. You see a lot of the
Hmm.
incidences occurring in the desert. So my theory on that is, yes, it's just a large space, so it's easier. But what if there's something there that they need? In the soil, in the rocks. Only the heat produces it. Perhaps they need something. They don't really want to take us out. They don't care. Like, whatever. You guys are just humans, dumb humans. We're just here for the dirt, or whatever it is. That's just my thought.
That is a good thought because one of the ones that I've seen, one of the big incidents that I witnessed was over one of the big mines here in Arizona.
Right. And 90% of, like, I mean, I've done quite a few UFO episodes. When I do the research, I find that the majority, 90% or so of the incidences are reported in hot locations. Las Vegas, New Mexico, Arizona, here
Hmm.
in California, the Mojave Desert. Those are
Hmm.
all super, super hot desert areas. And you see majority of the reported sightings in those places. So I think that they are here for something. The other thought is because now we're seeing them come out of the ocean. Perhaps there are multiple, what are you, species or types of aliens? I don't know, factions. Who knows? And maybe they need different things from this earth. Perhaps maybe one group needs something in the salt water, so they're down there, or in the dirt on the bottom of the ocean. Um, just a thought.
Um, that's interesting. Like what I mean, alien just means it's not us and it's foreign to
Right,
us,
it's
right?
foreign.
Essentially.
Right.
Um, when I was a kid, just out of high school. I was in college. I was doing papers. I would leave the NASA channel on, like the stream, right? In the 90s,
Hmm.
they would have a live feed.
Yep, I remember.
And um, I remember they would just pan and it was just space, whatever. And you could see a couple of pieces of equipment from the shuttle that they were doing stuff. But every once in a while, there would be something that would like float through that would be kind of like a circle that looked kind of like pulsy, and it would just kind of float by. And you'd be like, the hell, that just looked like a jellyfish.
It's interesting.
And now, recently I've seen stories about what they call plasmoids,
Mm,
that seem to be conscious, and there are thoughts about beings or animals almost like algae, like they work like single cell amoebas or something like that, but they're made of plasma, which is very interesting because
mm,
a lot of times, when you see orbs, what people describe as orbs that might be ghosts or spirits or something like that, they look very similar to what that is, what that kind of shape with like kind of a center to it, but kind of a pulsing, um, which would make sense that a spirit would present itself in a plasma kind of state.
mm.
There's been like even in what do you call it, the old pictures where uh, ectoplasm, that's the word I was looking
Right.
for,
Mhm.
where people would like expel uh, lights or whatever, but it
Mhm.
would only show up in photographs. That was essentially plasma. If there are literal beings that are made of different things, like they theorize that a lot of the if life doesn't necessarily have to be carbon based.
Right.
Life can be silica based or plasma based.
Mhm.
We don't what we define as life or you know animal, whatever
Mhm.
consciousness is, just because it's not like us doesn't mean it doesn't have consciousness,
Mhm.
doesn't mean it's evil,
Right.
doesn't mean it's coming to eat us, um,
Are you
but
sure about that?
also no, I'm not
I
sure.
know.
You know, that's the thing. That's what's fun about the conversation,
Right.
actually.
Yeah. No, because we don't know. We're just speculating. And I think going back to what you were saying, like ectoplasm and whatnot, perhaps what people are seeing are not aliens, spirits, past people that we know, souls trying to come forward to us in a different form. I don't know. We're assuming that these beings are coming from light years away to come to the earth, and that would require some type of technology, but we're not seeing anything that's spectacular. So what if it's not? What if it's a spiritual thing? What if they're like what we call angels, but angels aren't really winged beautiful things? They're little
Mm,
green men.
hmm. Or plasma beings
Right.
presenting themselves as that.
Hmm.
Um, the Tic Tac could be just those things that are zipping in and out of the ocean.
Hmm.
Um, you know, Many years ago there was discussion about rods, sky rods. I don't know if you remember
Hmm.
that or have
Hmm.
talked about
Yeah.
that before. But I had caught some on camera many, many years ago, and I was like, "Holy crap, that looks like a rod." And
Mhm.
when you look at what rods look like, what they called rods at the time in photographs, it looks like brine shrimp.
Right.
because they have, it's a
Mhm.
centerpiece with like flagella, um,
Mhm.
kind of going across the edges. If something
Mhm.
like that is a plasma-based being, or even even if it's not plasma, if I something else, I don't know. But we have that things similar to that in the ocean now.
Right. Yeah.
It and if
Yeah.
the whole skies above, skies below, oceans above, oceans below idea has some truth to it,
Mhm.
then and I've heard remote viewers say that when they've gone to other planets and into what we think of as the emptiness of space, which they they contend is not empty at all. They say that life is ubiquitous throughout the universe,
Mhm. Mhm.
and this idea that we have that the out there is just, Star Trek, where it's just we have to get into a machine to get there,
Right.
isn't exactly accurate.
And that kind of goes along. So what we're perhaps where we're going wrong is we think to go into outer space, survive and find other things, we need to get into a machine, a spaceship. But maybe it's not. Maybe it's all here. Maybe it's
Hmm.
just a higher conscious and that we're looking at it completely wrong. The other theory there's a couple of them that people bring these to me. So I'm like, what if we're just on a different plane? We're all still
Right.
here on the earth. So what we see, maybe zooming past us, not quite sure, is really there, but we have not evolved enough to see fully. Somewhere I read that we're not using the majority of our sight or senses. So because humans only use a certain amount of their brain. So if we were able to use the majority of our brain, maybe there are things in front of us that are unseen. Like when I see ghosts in my house walking around, What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, we've all seen animals looking at stuff that we
Mhm.
weren't sure was there, or that seemed like they were looking at something that we didn't see.
Or
Um,
babies too.
babies
Little
all the time.
babies.
Yeah, right.
Uh-huh. Little babies
Exactly.
and our animals, our pets, our cats and dogs are staring off into space or we're it's kind of weird and unsettling, but maybe they can see something we can't.
I know this always comes back to owls for me, but
Mhm.
owls see in several different lights, not just
Mhm.
the regular spectrum. They see in ultraviolet and super ultraviolet, or not ultra infrared also.
Mm.
So um, they see in this huge array that we can't. In fact, they see each other as almost like blacklight posters. Like their feathers have iridescence that we can't even perceive.
Wow.
But their hearing is so um, highly evolved that they can hear your heartbeat before you even walk up. Um,
Wow.
um, one of the ones that I got close to, she knew my car before I would
Mm.
drive up, and sometimes she would um, fly out to meet me before I got to their tree.
Mhm.
Um, and they, like crows, know individuate people, and they assume um, that that's a facial recognition thing, and that is
Right.
true because they've done the things with masks
Mhm.
and so they can recognize individuated humans. Um, but birds and other animals have such a hugely different experience of the world that we don't, that we're limited to, and part of that is just convincing ourselves of that, I
Mhm.
think, because I mean the babies that I mean, because I don't know if you had imaginary friends when you were a kid.
Yes.
Well, I
Yes.
did,
I did.
and I was wondering if Eric Addleston was real, but I was
Mhm.
convinced that he wasn't by the time I got to 7 or whatever age it was, where they're like, you know what, Gordy, you got to stop,
Mhm.
and they convinced us that we weren't experiencing that
Right.
anymore,
Mm, I think that, like, for me, my imaginary friend was a guy. I have a twin, and she and I, we were convinced he was very real. We named him Fred,
Mm,
and we drew him everywhere. Everywhere. Like, my parents lost their shit because
mhm.
we drew him like a stick figure all over the house, in the bathroom, in our room, in the kitchen, everywhere you could look, he was drawn on the wall. And we wanted to make him real because they told us he's not real. It's just imaginary. And so we're like, oh, we're going to show you. I think we were like 4. I remember it pretty well, mostly because he got screamed at. But yeah, we drew him a swing set, and he had his own little house, and
You and
very
your
interesting.
twin both had the same
Yes.
imaginary twin.
Mhm.
That's
We
interesting.
shared him. Yes.
Okay, that's fun.
Yeah. Yeah, we shared him. Like, I don't even understand that. My twin and I are very distant, but yet, like, I think telepathically linked. Like, we both know, we both kind of go through the same crap at the same time. We just don't always connect with each other. We're very, very busy, but yeah, we shared an imaginary friend, and I think we just like drawing on the walls. Maybe I don't know, but yeah, he was our buddy. So
Mm.
I don't even know where he came from. I just remember one day we started talking about him. So it's a strange situation. But perhaps there was someone. I mean, when we're that age, I don't even really remember a whole lot beyond that period. I don't think most adults do. I think we
Mm.
lose those memories when you shove so many things inside your brain, something's gonna
Mhm.
fall out. And so, by the time you've graduated college, started working, and living a life, those memories seem to kind of fall away. So, maybe there was an ability to see something more than what we can see now, and maybe he was a spirit or whatever.
Yeah, I wonder if that's where there's some sort of age of consent where we consent to a certain reality. Like, how
Yeah.
they call the
Mhm.
consent, the age of consent, right?
Mhm.
Um, where, like in the Christian church, the age of consent, like when are able to make that choice for yourself to accept Christ. That's how they
Right.
use it.
Mhm.
Um, I wonder how much, though, too, that's a certain reality that you're agreeing to.
Mhm.
And it makes me, with the election and everything, how much of this, you know, this attention that people are putting on it, this importance that they're putting on that election and being so shitty to each other.
Mhm.
People are crazy on a good
I
day,
know.
I
Yeah.
mean,
Mhm.
and adding this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Um, and in my group, we were talking last night, the uh Ordo ab Chao. It's a Masons thing that says out of order chaos, or
Mhm.
you know um like pushing the I wonder how much this, in conspiracy chat, how much of these things are the forces that be pushing the social uh needle,
Mhm.
throwing all the things out there, political chaos, economic chaos, uh, fucking aliens are coming,
Mhm.
titans are
Yep.
coming out of the
Yeah.
out of
Yep.
the ground. Um,
Mhm.
there are actually earthquakes happening. There
All
are
over.
natural
Mhm.
disasters happening all the time. I
Mhm.
mean, they're still cleaning up West Virginia
Mhm.
and
Yep.
East Tennessee, right?
Yep.
So um, I wonder how much of this is an agenda.
Very good
To
possibility.
just keep pushing it, pushing it, pushing it until something breaks and we go chink.
Mhm.
The odometer breaks and we got to stop the fucking car. You know.
Yep. I don't know, but like we talked about earlier, could this just be a distraction? I suppose it very well could. Aliens have become like a iconic movie, like a cult classic movie that's just
Mm,
so horrible, but you're like, "Oh my god, it's so amazing," you know? So the whole idea of aliens and UFOs, I think it's a fun thought, like, I think most of it okay, maybe it's just me, I feel trapped here on Earth. I'm stuck with crazy people all the time, so, you know, to know or think that there is something else intelligent out there that could it feels kind of like we're not alone, you know? There's something else out there. So I think people want to know. They wanna believe it, and so when the government is saying, "Yes, there's aliens," of course it's gonna distract us from every damn thing out there because it's kinda what we wanna see. It's, unknown to us, so we wanna know. So it could be a distraction.
yeah, they. Hmm, I mean, everything. We should take everything that the government says with a grain of salt. I mean,
Right. Mhm.
if it is talked about and the media and the mainstream media, if it's objectively accepted as a truth, we should probably question it.
Mhm. Yeah.
Um, to
Anything
keep
they're
ourselves
telling us at this
healthy,
point.
you know.
Yeah. Mhm. Though
And I get it
mhm.
though that it's both things. Like it's exciting
Mhm.
that we're not alone in the universe. Um, it's also uh, the conversely, people are terrified that we're not alone in the universe. We're not the top dog.
Yeah.
We're
Right.
not we're not God's
Mhm.
epitome of creation.
Right.
Um, so that's scary to people.
Oh, hold on a
Um,
second. Guess who's here?
Hey guys.
yay!
Yay!
Hi, hi, hi. I
Yay.
made it.
Yay.
Yay!
Um, so we're kind of just debating back and forth whether not
Ooh.
really debating, but like we're discussing whether are aliens could this potentially be real or is it a government, throw it out there to distract them all from what's really going on.
Oh,
Yeah. Um, I personally want to believe in aliens. I
me
don't want to
too.
imagine that we are just on this big rock flying through the universe alone. Like that's it. Because
Yep.
like I told Gordy, listen, we're surrounded by dumb people. We're trapped here with dumb people. I want to make friends with the aliens and I think maybe find my tribe. Maybe they are my people because this world sucks. So
I love that. I was literally talking to Gordon about that last night. I
mhm,
was like, let's do some more past life regressions and get
mhm.
me comfortable in that space and like let's call in and figure out who our alien guides are. Who's our alien team?
I don't know. I'm gonna come out there to you guys and you're gonna have to help me because my spine's not good, but I'll hold on to you. We'll walk out in the desert and just stare up at the sky. Listen, we're gonna do like Morse code with some lighters. We'll get them. Like
That's
land
funny because
here.
when I go out there in the desert, there's this one star that blinks blue and red, super
Oh.
bright, and I just think in my mind like, "Oh, I think they see me and that they're blinking hi to me," and I'm like, "Hi." Like
Maybe,
you never know, right?
I think they would communicate with more intelligent people than non-intelligent people. So, and we are intelligent. So, I would imagine.
People
Um,
forgot.
yeah. I don't know. This one we started with was the white orb UFO seen off the coast of Kuwait. I played a little clip about it. I don't know. It's hard to say if this is something real or is it just a distraction. Does come at the tail end of the elections. So interesting.
What were you saying, Gordon?
Uh, I I mean, I always come at it where I question everything. I'm going to question if it's coming from the government and they're acknowledging it. I'm going to say no, it's probably not true. But um, because of my own experiences, I have both things. I've experienced stuff in the sky that I couldn't explain, but I also have, which maybe it'd take another show to talk about, but I've told Chelsea the story about
Well,
if
actually, I was going to ask you to tell that
okay,
story, and then before we end later, I literally want to tell you my final theory about aliens because I think it's
please,
twisted and you guys will like it.
please.
Okay, so your story, you had something like crazy to tell, like experience with aliens or something unknown, right?
Well, okay, because I was a government contractor. Like one of the reasons I wanted to go into aerospace was because of that kind of thing. You know, I wanted to
Mm,
see if they were making Vanta Black. I wanted to see if we were making plasma drones. I wanted to see if we were, you know, all these theories that I had been hearing about from on Art Bell and Coast to Coast for the last, you know, for 20 years before that. I wanted to see if we were doing those kinds of things, and so it was a great paying job. I got into uh, aerospace, and now here's the thing: during that time, I had night terrors. This is kind of separate but connected. So I had these night terrors, and um, I woke up one night with three people at the end of my bed. I say people, but what it was black on black. You know, you're seeing something in black. I was having sleep paralysis. I was having sleep paralysis regularly. I would sit up and like, you know, you hold your breath. It's like how they call the old hag syndrome. Um, I had this one time where I sat up and saw three beings at the end of my bed,
wow.
and in my head, now I can talk. One of your previous guests, I think it was Olivia, was talking about these kinds of things
Mm,
and
mm,
how you people don't believe you because you talk about them nonchalantly. This is years of
mm,
therapy and regression and working on this stuff to be able
right.
to talk about these things because it was traumatic. Um, you know, somebody people just showing up in your room out of nowhere. In my head, I saw these. Okay, they looked.
Ooh,
Oh
oh, what are we gonna do? Hold on.
no.
I'm sorry. I
Oh,
don't know what
okay,
happened there.
okay, that's all
Sorry.
right.
They
Anyway,
don't
go
want
for
you to
it.
Okay,
tell the tale.
I don't
yeah.
know. Maybe. I don't know. Weird. Okay, so go ahead.
Okay, so to me, it looked like they were hunchbacks with like hoods. Like
Oh.
in my head, like the silhouette of it looked like a babushka, like a lady with a
Mm,
hunchback with a thing over her head, right? Um, but that also black ops guys, you know, wear hoodies with black backpacks. Um, at any rate, at the time, I was seeing that as a spiritual thing. I was my initial response was to push back spiritually.
mm,
Um, and all I can, but you're frozen essentially because of the sleep paralysis. Like you can't talk. You're just trying to say
right.
anything is like you're trying to force it out. So what I got out was if you're gonna get to me, you got to get through the God inside me. And as I was saying this, they were starting to walk out. The middle one stopped and went like this
Hmm.
and kind of leaned in and was listening and then went and stepped
Hmm.
back and then left. And in that second, that reaction that I got, I'm like, that's a dude.
Oh wow. Yeah.
That is a dude,
Mm,
probably a dude that I was working with at the time at the
Mm.
same defense company.
mm,
You know, I don't know for sure. I'm just, you know, this is what was going on in my mind. I mean, it took me years to kind of analyze this with regression, because I thought, you tell somebody this kind of stuff, they're like, oh my God, you were abducted by aliens.
Right.
And years after that, I saw a Vice documentary where this guy was talking about how he was implanted by aliens. He had a magnetic spot on the base of his neck, and he said that he was implanted by aliens.
Mhm.
And in that interview, he had mentioned that he had worked for this specific company, but in Britain. That just so happened to be the same company that I was working for down here in
Oh,
Sierra Vista.
wow.
So I'm like,
Wow.
trip out, man. I'm gonna go find some
Yeah.
magnets. So I started sticking some magnets, and I don't know if I told you that part of the story, Chelsea, but that's how I found the first magnetic spot. Was I saw that Vice documentary, and the guy mentioned it in the same company. I'm like, what? So I grabbed some neodymium magnets that I had from some laptops, stuck it to my neck, and it stuck right away.
Oh my gosh. So the Vice documentary had a gentleman from your same company?
Yeah, but he
Is that
was
what
in
you said?
England. Uh-huh. He
Oh
had done
my
some
gosh.
contracting work.
And that's how you see, and that's another thing when we talk about our guides, whether it's some sort of energy spiritual guide or maybe our alien team guide, help plop that video in your ether or whatever to kind of be like, hey,
Right.
cousin, or whatever the hell we are to them, um, check this out. And it led you to, finding the magnet and finding the implant. That is kind
Weird.
of cool. That is so
Crazy.
cool.
Yeah. Wow.
Do you
Mm.
have any more?
Um, yeah, actually, I found one just actually not that long ago, maybe like a year, maybe 2 years ago, like one of my chests here. Um, but since I've started talking about that, like I think I started talking about it maybe like 5 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I found several other people that have those kinds of things. Some of them in their sinuses. Um, Another thing that was interesting was that in 2014 I was diagnosed with a pituitary adenoma,
Mm.
that brain tumor that I told you about, right? Well, if you look up that company and the patents for biotelemetry implants, the three spots are this, uh, well, four spots. They do it in the armpit, sternum, always the base of the neck, but also in they go up through the nose into between implanted between the frontal lobe and the pituitary gland.
Wow. In one of the episodes that I did, it was the Gandaya affair where three friends, I think two of them were a couple, and the other one was a friend. They were opening a winery. I want to say it was Australia, and they were renovating. The couple, man and woman, went to bed. The friend slept on the couch, and she sees her female friend come out of the bedroom, go to the window, and there's a light that comes through and just takes her out the window.
Mm.
No,
What?
obviously they're like aliens. And now they find this woman like, I don't know, 90 minutes later, 3 hours away.
Mm.
She stumbles out of a forest. She goes to this gas station and they take her to the hospital. Her boyfriend and her friend rush there, like to have to drive overnight. But when they examined her, she had triangular, like, I don't know, formations on her. Like they had
Hmm.
either branded her or something. They were very visible too. I think she had it like on her chest and her thigh, perfect triangles. So I don't know if that's a thing.
That's
That's interesting.
interesting with all the stories that we hear. I had never really heard of them like having a brand so visible.
Mhm. Yeah, that one you can check that one out on YouTube, and I think in that YouTube video there are photos of her, the triangles on her. So very interesting. Unfortunately, authorities did not believe that she was abducted, did not believe her in any way, shape, or form. They called it a hoax. The media just said it's all a hoax. So
Mm.
the three of them just kind of disappeared. I think I would too if everybody was calling me a joke, and no one's ever heard from them again. We don't know where they are. So
It is
I don't know that they, yeah, go
sounds
ahead.
very similar to the Travis Walton story.
Similar, yeah. And I think that what I found when I do alien episodes, when I research, they're kind of all the same. Not necessarily in the fact that, oh, an alien, the experience might not have been the same, but the aftermath is always the same. People kind of don't believe them. Their life is altered, completely altered. Like you
Hmm.
can't unsee what you just saw.
Yep.
And if no one believes you, you're going to a therapist who's trying to tell you you're crazy and therapy it out of you,
Oh
but
yeah.
you believe that this is what happened. Obviously, you guys now know I believe in aliens. I want them to be there. I want them to be real. But uh, I feel bad for people that have gone through that experience because how life changing, and then to be placed back in the same timeline that you were taken, and our views here haven't changed, so people assume you're crazy. So
Yeah, that kind of just made me think, um, mine and Gordon's mutual friend, he has a strong well, he just talked to us about how another belief could be that, and though it's kind of hard because there's like so many people, but saying that like people's belief in aliens or having had been abducted can stem from like childhood trauma, like how one gets DID, like they could also believe that they were abducted because they didn't really want to be there for that traumatic sexual abuse or
I
whatever
don't
it may
know. I
be.
kind of I
You know?
kind of feel, my personal opinion, there's a stretch for that. That's a stretch. I mean, yeah, I know the brain can protect us during trauma. I know that. I've experienced severe trauma in my life. But to stretch it so far that, well, your abduction wasn't really an abduction. You just blanked out because you didn't want to have to deal with that. I don't know. I don't believe that. I feel like these people come back with such detailed stories, like the
Mhm.
Berkshire incident, Massachusetts. At least 20 children came back with the same story. They were all plucked
Right.
and disappeared, and no one really believed them. They still, I guess, that group of children, they all believed they were abducted on the same day to the same ship. And while they didn't know each other, they were all from different counties. They saw each other on the ship. And when they
Right.
came back, they see this TV report of these other kids, and they're like, "Oh my god, I know her. I was on the ship with her." And so now, as adults, they all go back to Berkshire County, Massachusetts, and meet every year, and it's like an anniversary.
Oh,
But
wow.
a lot of people in the 70s did not believe these children. They didn't. They're like, "You're all just crazy." And they did speculate. People speculated that there must be having abuse at home, or something must be occurring in their
Right.
world. That's why they're trying to make these crazy stories up. But that's another one you can find on YouTube, Spotify, wherever you can find my podcast. It's the whole story. Yeah, that one was a cool, fun one, but scary because most of these kids, when they disappeared, it was literally at the exact same time. All of them went missing.
Mm.
One was in a car with her mom and dad driving, and they went to get ice cream, and they stop at the lake to eat ice cream, and a beam of light comes out of the lake, and when it's all over, they're down one kid, and she was taken. And 3 hours later, somebody found her walking, I don't know, 30 miles away from where they had last seen her. So creepy. Same thing happened to
Mm.
another kid, same exact time. Like within a 10-minute span, they snatched 20 kids. He was coloring at his friend's house and they're having fun watching TV. He hears a voice that says, "You need to go home." he's like 6 or 7, didn't recognize the voice, but went, "Oh no, I better go home," you know? So he
Aw.
runs out the back door and a beam of light snatches him.
Mm.
And luckily, the kid's parents saw this happen. They were like, "Wait,
Oh,
what?"
wow.
So they're like, "Where are you going? Why are you leaving?" And they see this light and then he's just gone. So, I think it's one of the more believed cases nowadays because there were so many witnesses, not just little kids telling this story. A
Mhm.
lot of adults witnessed it. So, but definitely one of the biggest in the United States. I think that's believed anyway.
Yeah, and like there's so much it seems like trauma that, these humans go through after being abducted.
Mhm.
But some things that I were listening to was like, you know, a school of thought could be that, um, we kind of plan our way before we get here, that we're already part of these alien families or these alien groups, and we've come down here to do some sort of mission or assimilate or whatever. Like basically like we whoever gets abducted had already agreed to that prior to
Mm.
Mhm.
incarnating on Earth or something like that. So it's like though we don't think that we gave them permission, we kind of already did
Mm.
for whatever
Right.
reason.
Mm.
So I thought
Well,
that was kind of
that
interesting too.
could be, but wait till you hear my final theory, okay? I actually told this to a couple people recently and they're like, "What is in your head? Like why are you this way?" Like, okay. All right. I think we're like cattle. I think us humans are cattle and I think there's aliens everywhere. And yes, we're seeing big tall beings in Las Vegas. Yes, there's ships flying out of the ocean, but we are cattle. What do we do with our cows? What do? We corral them and cattle them. Why? Because we need them. We need them to sustain our lives. I
Mm,
don't know what it is that they need from us. For all we know, it could be our bad breath, our flaky skin in the wintertime, our smell, our perspiration, sweat, whatever. And when they
pollution.
kidnap these people, individuals, it's to check that we are giving off the right balance of whatever it is they need. Because if they had power to get here, intelligence to get here, they are beyond us, like by leaps and bounds. They would be able to take over whatever they wanted here on Earth. But they don't. They just keep slipping up and letting us see them. But you know why they don't? They don't care because we're cattle to them. Do you care if your cows in the pasture see you do something that's not so great? Probably not. What do you care? We're just something they need. We're like animals or creatures to them. All right,
Right.
your
I was
thoughts.
thinking that the other day, like my term in my head was like we're just mice, we're experimental mice.
Mhm,
So they have
mhm,
no we obviously do research and on mice all the time, and
mhm.
that's probably how they look at us too.
It's possibly, but it kind of ties into what I was saying earlier to Gordon about there could be something in these specific areas like the desert. We see a lot of sightings in the desert. They
Mm,
need something in the soil or whatever. Um, but they kind of, like I said, have more power and ability than we do, but they stand back. So I don't know. Your thoughts?
I have heard people say that, or I might have been a Bashar thing. Somebody asked him about that. And first of all, my first thought is that we have a concept problem where
mm,
we see it as our relationship to cattle or like
Mhm,
the ants, like us to an ant, right?
mhm, mhm,
Where our reality is so different that it's just not conceivable to us of what that is. Like our our mutual friend that uh, was trying to describe being an alien without a body um, is really hard for us to really like just conceptualized, like just,
Mm,
and it's not even a gaseous thing. It's just a consciousness that's out there. Like we, there's, it's funny. I stumbled onto a Star Trek where there was like, uh, an alien life was disembodied, and it would like go
mm,
into one thing or another, which sounded like demon possession to me at the time.
right. And
But
nice kind of cross in my mind with that stuff too, because I'm not sure it's not,
right, exactly, right. I mean, if you read a Whitley Strieber book, it sounds like that
Mm-hmm.
those are like little demons, right? I mean,
Yes.
um, it, and that's another thing is if it's a spiritual concept that are or just dimensional, if it just get out spiritual, get out concept, just dimensions. We can't, if we're living in this 3D concept and we can't get our minds outside of that 3D to, I mean, we can conceive of 4D time, right?
Mm,
But what are we conceiving beyond that, outside of both space and time?
mm,
But what's beyond that? Like I
mm,
mean, in my groups we do meditations where we try and get between, somewhere between the spiritual and the physical, where we try and get to that mental state where we can look at life or reality from between those two states, um, which I believe that's where remote viewing and
mm,
manifestation happens. That's where magic happens. It's between the
mm.
dream and the reality. But what's beyond that? Like, if
Right.
we can even now, like all these mystic books can conceive of that, there's a
Mhm.
reality beyond that,
And
and another reality beyond that. What are those things?
that is going to be something I will definitely be asking my upcoming guest. I think I told you before. I don't want to say her name yet, but she's booked to come on. And she's a master at unlocking the Akashic records. So
Oh, that's
that is going to be
so
pretty epic.
cool.
Yeah. So that should be coming first week of December. So we just finalized the booking to come on the show, and working with her people to get her over on the show. That it's going to be pretty awesome. I'll
Oh,
tell you guys.
that's gonna
I'll
be
tell you more off
amazing.
camera, okay? Tell you more off camera, but no, I think you know these kinds of questions would be something that she might want to help delve into, because what is beyond that when that's when we're meditating or dreaming, that state of being, what is beyond it. So
I've even started like a journal specific to that. Like, what are the questions that I want to ask a higher dimensional being
mhm.
throughout my life? And I just jot them down. And whenever that day comes, then I'll have those.
No, I agree. Yeah. One more thing I wanted to share with you guys. I think I'm going to put this up on the
Oh, and just,
screen.
for
Yeah.
any of your viewers that are into this, I've read a fantastic book by
Really?
Adrian DeVere.
Oh,
It's called X3, and he became a channel with a group of aliens, and they constructed like a small hospital above his house, and they were able to help them heal humans. And
wow.
that's where he asked a lot of these questions to them, and he was an Israeli computer programmer, and it's a chapter book like this big, and I read it, and it,
I'll have to
it
check it
was
out.
so
That
good,
sounds
so
interesting.
freaking good.
Maybe we can get that author.
He
um,
died, but
right.
his
Oh, that's too bad.
his websites are still archived, and it's so early 2000s, his websites, and it looks a little cheesy and a little gimmicky, but most websites did during that time. But
Mm,
I loved it. I loved
That
that.
sounds like a good book. I'll have to check out. So I had a question, and like I've told you before, strangely enough, I get a ton of emails from fans. It's so bizarre. One time, and
Cool.
this is just a funny one, and then I'll get into the real questions. But one time, I had someone email me, "Does a centaur have a belly button?"
That's a great question.
I still have not answered that. I know that person watches all the time, so sorry, buddy, haven't figured
For
that one out
me,
yet.
I would say
Say,
yes.
right,
Yeah,
I
I
would
say
say
yeah.
yes, but like my mind starts to do stupid things when I have to try and place the belly button. Like it's just dumb things. So, but recently I got a question about
Right, because he has two.
what? Huh?
Because technically he might have two
Oh,
belly buttons. Is that what you're
yeah.
going?
I guess
Oh,
I
fair.
just kind of get weirded out though. My head. Yeah, I guess. Yeah. But yeah.
Or no, you never
I
know.
mean, maybe it would be where the horse and the man connect. I mean, I don't know, in the midsection.
Does a mermaid have a belly button?
I don't
Ooh,
know. You
Because
know what?
she's
We could do a
half
whole
fish, she's
belly
from an
button
egg.
series. We could do
you really
a whole
could.
belly button series.
Right.
Does does the Mothman have a belly button? Oh. I don't know.
Do aliens have belly
These
buttons?
are questions
Right,
to put in the journal for the higher
right.
beings.
Does
If
Cthulhu have
I
a belly
if
button?
if I wake up with weird dreams, I'm calling you both at like 2 a.m.
Yeah.
No, you
Do
guys,
it.
I dreamed
This is your
about killer
fault.
belly buttons. So anyway, serious question though. I had somebody ask me about the two of you. Like, what are they? What's the deal? I'm like, they're my friends, and now you're friends. And so we had kind of devised a t-shirt because really what you guys are is you're helping me explore. You're out there outreaching and sharing things with me. So to the
You
fans that
are
are
so
questioning,
amazing.
this is my outreach team.
Oh
Or
my
like,
gosh, I love you.
so
That's
yeah, you'll be
beautiful.
getting your shirts soon, but right now you guys have to be my legs because mine don't work so well anymore. So, but yeah, just for the fans,
You're
that's
the
where
brains.
that's where
I'll be bronze.
I'm like the mastermind behind the computer.
Yes.
I do want to
Or
come out there
Oracle.
though. I want to lay in the desert with you guys. Look at the
Well,
sky.
we kind of
Oh,
want to go out there
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
ghost hunt that weird
You guys
place.
want to find you want to speak to my ghosts. Oh my God, you
Yeah.
want to hear something really crazy?
what?
And I think we need to do another episode on just the paranormal stuff that happens to me. That'll like
Yes.
2 hours worth. So
Yeah.
Yes.
I have an app. I don't really want to say the name of it because I don't want to have
Ah,
anybody be upset.
right.
But I mean, I guess they wouldn't care, right? I mean, I don't know. It's the Necrometer app. It's pretty popular.
Oh, right, right.
So I was in my office, that it's haunted, I did not have that app on. I didn't. It was a really terrible week. You know what I do for a living, so encountered some of the worst and vile people and was very fearful this week. And I sat at my desk one day, actually cried at my desk one day because
Mm.
it was that bad. And then I was like, is there anybody even protecting me? Like, do I have a guardian angel? Like, what the
Oh.
hell is going on? That app popped open and I am not even lying. It said, most likely not.
Oh,
Wow.
those mother truckers.
I was like, ah,
They are
yeah,
effing with
that is
you.
literally not, I literally, you can't alter this. You can't change this. There's no way I could make that up. So, um, I was looking at my phone like, well, then screw you too. Ran to my
Oh.
place where I live and, yeah, just all day things kept falling and, my husband came home like, "I think it's your energy," and I was like, "You shut up too," and finally, I just kind of was like, "Stop, just leave me alone," and it stopped. So I don't know, like I said, what happens to me on a daily basis could be like a whole 3-hour episode,
Mhm.
but there's proof, and that app, and as well as a few others that I have played with. I've had friends in the paranormal industry who will ask me to try their apps out or whatnot. And I'm like, sure. I'm not a paranormal investigator in any way, so it's helpful for them to get just an insight from someone that doesn't do that regularly.
And who has
Those
creepy things always happening to
I
them.
know.
You're the
Um,
perfect person to send that crap to.
right. So those various apps have opened multiple times, and I've seen things like that multiple times. Mostly in my despair kind of moments, where I'm
Mm,
like at my wit's end. Like I don't share what I do online, but you guys know, and people are really hard to deal with. These days, people are very hard. And when you've encountered like 7 angry people in an hour, you lose your vibe. You lose your there is no way you can come back from that. Like people are like, just meditate, breathe, don't let it affect you.
It
It's not.
does.
It's
It
going
does,
to.
and it
Yeah.
sucks because, that's exactly what those energies are feeding off of. They're
Mhm.
loving your despair and
Oh,
your
yeah,
fear
but
and your
and I
blah, blah,
try,
blah.
I try.
That's what sucks.
I put some I'm a huge classic rock fan. I love some Creedence Clearwater. Try to put them on in the office and blast the music, and
Mhm,
it doesn't that I there's you hit a wall at one point emotionally that
mhm,
you can't come back
mhm,
from. I have to go take a walk or go cry, throw up, something, and get it out.
mhm,
But that's usually the times that, the apps are popping open. And, I don't know, maybe it's just the location that I'm at, that
mhm,
there's a lot of, history here and kind of
right.
anger and stuff. So maybe these spirits are just mischievous, angry, who knows? But it's happened in other locations too, so maybe it's just me.
And you know what? I one thing that keeps popping into my realization field is you have to, even for me, like I need to start commanding what I want. Like I
Mhm.
need to
mm,
start, and even like my spiritual team, like, you know, I need you guys to protect me. You have to protect me in this field, and start being the god of your
Authoritative.
universe.
So, like, I'm just gonna start yelling out, "You need to give me billions of dollars." No? That would work?
Well,
No?
you
Maybe.
can
I don't think
maybe.
it would work, but
see
yeah.
yourself with $1 billion,
Yeah.
just keep calling that energy towards you.
Mm,
You're
that would be
yes.
amazing. But,
Um, but, uh, your lights threw me off behind you because I closed my eyes and then I can see you with the
oh,
wings.
sorry.
No, I love it, I love it.
That's
I just closed
funny.
my eyes and it's like, how it burns into your retinas a little bit?
One of my kids came and
I
put it
love
up. I was
that.
like, "Okay."
Like little
I
dark
can't like,
angel.
it's strange. I can't do a lot of the things I've normally been able to. I used to run at, like, 4,000,000 miles an hour, and now everybody's like, "Just sit down, we'll do it." I'm like, "Ugh." So the kids put those up for me
Let
one day.
them do it.
Adult kids, yeah. Um, but anyway, let's get back to aliens and then
Oh,
wrap
aliens, yeah,
it up as we digress.
Real
them.
quick before we get to the aliens, I mean, calling on our, we can communicate. I believe we can communicate with the angelic realm,
Mhm.
um, just as we probably can with the alien, whatever alien is,
Mhm.
Mhm.
depending on what that definition is. But
Right.
I mean, calling on that protection, I think, is very, very helpful. Like even burning sage or Palo Santo or whatever, calling in your ancestors and your protection of your ancestors. I
Somebody
mean,
told me that recently, and I actually have been doing that a little bit more often. I do have Palo Santos
Good.
in my office, and I carry some with me pretty much everywhere. Um, I don't know, sometimes I feel cursed. Like,
Mhm.
but I think, like, something that you guys had talked about previous, I had spoken to someone recently, and maybe there is a little bit of medium activity there, and if I figure out how to control it, things will get better. So just gotta work on, is that real? Is that a thing? Or am I just cursed? So
you're not cursed. I mean, I think
No, this is
we
a
just got to
blessing.
work on your defenses. Yeah, this is a
mhm.
blessing. This is learning.
This is a
I think
blessing,
if you
and
just don't know how to use it, it looks
right.
like a curse, and
Mm.
the world I work in, there's no room for that kind of stuff. So It's very, very fast paced, tons of deadlines. So it's like, can you not knock my stapler over 4 times? Like,
Mm.
what do you want? You want to do my
It's like,
work?
I'm gonna put the paper there, and you need to smash the stapler closed.
There
Like,
you
you
go.
need to
See
be
now,
helping me.
can you train your spirits? Can you train them?
Right.
You do this,
I
you
need
do
an
that,
assistant.
right? Yeah. Interesting though.
Do my job.
That real quick, that app had popped open and there was a person that used to work in my position years and years ago, like decades ago. Um, his name came across that app. I can actually show you, but I don't want to show his name. But yeah.
Wow.
And so I think that the spirits that are here and kind of messing with me there's this historical value for them. There's a reason why they're here. I think
Yeah.
maybe what needs to happen is they need to be guided somewhere else. Like they need to go, move on. I don't know how to do that though. So again, we'll have to do a whole other episode. Um, like,
Another reason why we need to
open
get out there.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like go into the light, guys. Go on. You don't need to be here. But for the name to come up, it means that these spirits have been here for a very long time because that person hasn't been here for decades.
Wow.
Mm.
And
Yeah, so
it's kind of sad for them,
they feel trapped, stuck.
Yeah.
So
Could you
maybe
imagine being
that's
at
why
your
they're
shitty job for the rest of
Mhm.
eternity?
Yep.
God,
I know.
some of my
So
jobs, like I can imagine. Jesus,
mhm,
no
yeah,
way. That
yeah.
would be
That
torture.
would
That would be
and
kind
I
of a
think
hell.
that
Right.
could be why, they're tormenting me. So, um,
Mm,
I'm the only kicking post in the room. So, at this
right.
Mhm.
point, I work alone, and, so I'm the only one they can beat up and
Yeah.
torment. So,
And
yeah.
who can hear them?
Mhm. Obviously, no one else that's worked in my building that has passed through that's worked, they've never felt anything, they don't see anything, they're
Wow.
like, "I don't." To me, the building feels dark and creepy, and when I walk in, sometimes feel like a deep chill in my bones, like very deep, like you shake, you shudder.
Mm,
But you're not really cold because it's like 110 outside, it's a
mhm.
strange thing. So, but I guess some people are sensitive, some are not. So
Well, we need
anyway,
to send you some protection.
yes. Um, or I'm gonna hire like a spiritual security guard. I don't know. Is that a thing? Anyway, let's back to our aliens though. We digress and we overshot the hour mark here. So um but do we believe that there are aliens? Do we believe they're coming out of the ocean and they're going to take over, or we think that this is a distraction or there's something else entirely?
I think they are definitely hiding in the ocean. I don't think they're here to take over.
Mm-mm. I think if they wanted to, they could,
Right. Right. I think they're kind of just waiting for us to. I mean, a lot of us believe or have seen and don't believe, but either way. And it would be cool for when they are ready to come online, for them to kind of help us, help show us like what they do in their society for leadership and how people survive, with or without, like how do they do their employment structure and money structure, because it seems like they would have it more advanced where people go to
Mm,
work and do what they actually want to be doing in order to make money. And when people are happily doing what they need to do while helping society, everyone wins. You know what I mean? I think that's where they're already
mm,
at and where they could help show us how to
mm,
implement that. That's what I'm hoping.
me too.
So if that could
Um,
happen soon,
Right, right.
I'm
yeah,
ready.
the concept thing is interesting to me. Like what alien is, I think is a better question of
Mm,
like when it pops up in the conversation in the media, I'm always skeptical.
Mm-hmm.
But to say, do we believe? I believe everything is possibly true, and I believe that much of what we're told is not true.
Mm.
So that being said, I believe that what we think we have been told as alien, or conceptualized as what
Right.
alien is, because alien just means it's other than us,
Mm-hmm.
something we don't understand.
Right. Well, I mean, we call people that cross borders aliens,
Right.
illegal
Right.
aliens. So yeah, it's just a term for unknown, something that's foreign to us. But I guess there's got to be a better way to describe them than using the word alien. We should make our own term.
Well, there's been attempts, ultra terrestrial, extraterrestrial,
Galactic being.
interterrestrial, yeah, intergalactics,
Hmm.
celestials. In the ancient
Mm,
times, we call them celestial beings.
Oh yeah, remember that.
Um, but
celestials.
that could also be angelics. We don't we don't know. But I think, just like we've had these discussions about jinn and stuff too. That's a spectrum too.
Mhm.
We don't know what we don't know.
Right.
So there's a whole concept of, like, even asking them about money, maybe even a mute question, like they are, even structure, maybe just completely mute question, because
Mhm.
it's not going to matter. It doesn't matter on whatever plane they're at.
Right. They
There
may
isn't
not.
such a thing.
Yeah, they may not deal in currency or money in that sense. They may have reached a level of evolution that kindness is the only form of money. You know what I mean? Who
Mhm.
knows what is on that level? Clearly, I believe there's something out there, aliens, but I don't necessarily believe they're jumping in a ship and coming on our. I think, like what I said earlier, is they're already here, but on a different plane. It's what we can't see because humans are literally only using like that part of your
Right.
that
Like
much of your
you're
brain.
here, but on a different dimension. In that
Mhm.
book, they
Mhm.
talk about that, how, because one psychic was like, an alien team came, and there was one that looked human, and that they were working with the aliens, and they asked her for a cup of coffee, and she's
Mm.
like, she just got them the coffee, but she's like, how is she drinking the coffee? But because the coffee is still here, but its energy fragment is also in dimension 4 and 5, and so they're able to drink. So that seems most logical to me too.
Mhm. And that makes sense. Uh-oh. In like 3, 2, 1, you're gonna hear my dog going nuts. He's just so clingy. I think he's an alien, literally. He's like a
Hmm.
creature from another planet.
They are.
Yeah. Oh god. Did
He's
you hear
singing
that?
for us.
That's
Oh no,
awesome.
this is like help, help, somebody help. They left me alone. Oh my god. My husband was in that room with him and then he left to go to the restroom. And this is just dad left the room for 2 seconds and this is what happens. So
That is
like, oh my
great.
god. Yeah, anyway.
Poor baby.
Yeah, right. It's bad. Um so I think we need to wrap it up because we've way over the hour mark. But what is our final thoughts here? What are final thoughts? What are we going to leave these viewers with on aliens? And
I'd say be open, Why
mm,
not?
I think though, like I think I wanted to do this because I had so many questions. Like, oh my god, did you see they're coming out of the ocean? And I think I wanted to do something to calm people a little bit. Like, you're right. The government told us that something came out of the ocean. But are we under attack? Probably not. Are we gonna
No,
be
because
under
like what
attack?
you said,
Probably
they
not.
have had this technology way back
Mhm.
then. I mean, think about the pyramids of Egypt. I mean,
Where'd
if
those come
that
from? Yeah.
technology, I
Right.
mean, they're letting us
Mhm.
do our thing.
For whatever reason, maybe they, like I said, they need us. But I think that, just speaking to the fans, and I think Gordon said earlier, don't believe everything you see. Don't believe everything that the government's pitching to you.
Mhm.
There's a war inside the political hallways that we're not privy to, and they're going to come out with some of the most outlandish stuff to keep us, what's the words?
They
Where
want
they
us
want
scared.
us.
They want us scared and be
Mhm,
like,
mhm.
"Government, how are you gonna save us? How are you gonna
Right.
protect us from these
And
aliens?" And
mhm, and it
it's not
doesn't matter what your affiliation was, what side you're on, what party you're with. It's the same on both sides. There is no difference. It's just each side has their own agenda, that's all. But the end of the day, they want us to feel fear and loyalty to them, spewing out things that may not be true. If there's really a threat from aliens, okay, can understand. But I feel like this is a distraction at this point, because if you look for that video that supposedly was taken, you can't actually find the video. It's just a news report everywhere that says white orb UFOs seen off the shores of Kuwait by US Navy. And then you see some footage of ocean, and that's it. Where is it? I want to see the orbs. You don't want to see this. But if there really was such a thing, why wouldn't they show us? Or is it just a distraction to get us talking and spiraling out of control?
Mhm. When there's things like, China trying to create the sun and this and that, like,
Hmm.
that we should be a little bit more worried about, like, that or, like, you know what I
Mhm.
mean? Like, there's things for us to or, like, the government taxing us to high hell. We should be figuring out how to stop that, you know? It's
Yeah.
like,
Yep.
that's more scary.
I agree, because that's right now.
Yeah.
Keep asking questions and
Oh, good one.
uh, know trust your own experience. I would
Mm,
Mhm.
say what we personally have experienced of extra dimensional or interdimensional or whatever things that we don't conventionally understand. I trust my
Mm.
experience more than anybody else's version of that experience.
I'm so
Um,
sorry if you can hear
and
my dog.
especially, I'm not going to trust the. I love him. He's awesome.
He's just going off back there.
Especially not
he
the
just went
media or the government. The government or media, I'm going to distrust it right off the bat. But you're right. I didn't see it. I didn't see the USO video that
Mm-mm.
they were talking about, but I have seen some of those. And like
Yeah,
we were
I've seen
saying,
a
there's
few, but in
a
this
lot of
one,
alternative explanations for those things other than it's a
absolutely.
UFO or alien.
I know the Pentagon came out with a report this morning talking about, while there are so many reported sightings and incidences, there's no actual proof that they are from some other life or intelligent life from another planet. They don't know if it's actually alien or what it is.
mm.
So, um,
Yeah, it
Or
could
if
be
it
like
is
an
even theirs.
independent, proprietor or whatever doing their own technology thing. But also, like, I've seen, like, videos that, of people that are somewhere and, like, those plasma orbs of electricity are, like, going across the train tracks. It's like,
mhm,
that's creepy, scary. Like, what is that? Like, but it's something a phenomena
mm,
that people do see
mhm.
quite
Can you
regularly. Oh, yeah, it's
imagine?
just an energy ball full of plasma. I'm
Mhm.
like, "What?"
Can
Like,
you
that's normal?
imagine with this I'll leave you guys with this thought. Imagine the moment you die, okay? And I actually kind of got this idea, this theory from the Tibetan Book of the Dead, the
Mm.
different
Mm,
chapters there. So I read that recently. And imagine if you die, like whatever the case is, you fall over and have a heart attack and you're on the ground. And then you jump back up and you're seeing everybody run around and cry and yell, and you're like, oh, I'm dead. But then when you step out your door, the world is still there, but looks like the Jetsons or something, and there's flying cars, because we couldn't see that when we were in this form.
oh.
Can you imagine? Like I still believe that aliens are here, but I don't think they're coming from light years away. I think it's just what we can't see.
Right.
Mhm.
If you use more of your brain, and maybe when you die, you use more of that consciousness than when we're in this state.
Right.
The Tibetan Book of the Dead talks about birth and life and death, and I love how it doesn't refer to it as like when you die that you're dead. That's it. It's like a different state in a different realm. Like we're in a different position, like on
Mhm.
the Monopoly board. You moved, you
Mhm.
leveled up or whatever. Doesn't necessarily mean the beginning of the end. So like higher consciousness in each situation, which makes sense with birth because in your mother's womb you really don't have consciousness, maybe sight, sound, senses, but once you're born, then you level up, you higher consciousness. So maybe they're really already here, we just can't see them.
Yeah, that's also made me feel good. Like, scientifically, like there's no end to energy. So that means
Yeah.
scientifically there's no end to me, you know.
Mhm. The other theory, I'm not going to get too much into it. I think everybody should go back and see this episode. I had interviewed Dr. Craig Hogan. He came on the show and he was talking about life after death. He's actually a PhD doctor who studied the afterlife, and along the lines of what I'm talking about, like you open your eyes after you die, and the world's still here. It's just in a different way. And he talks a little bit like that, about that kind of stuff. Like in that realm, you can still drink alcohol but not feel the effects, other than the happiness, the giddiness, that kind of stuff, because you finally leveled up. So
Mm.
um, go anybody wants to go check that out. It's on the YouTube for Unexplained Realms, and that was a really great interview because he's so intelligent and had a lot to say on the matter. So
Oh, that's fun.
It's
mhm.
about perceptions too. I think
Mhm,
like
mhm,
what you're talking about is whether we even are equipped to perceive those things or not.
mhm,
Um, but if we are eternal beings living a material life, clearly this is the thing that's going to go away, right? Um,
mhm,
the other experience is going to keep going,
mhm,
um, because energy only changes form; it never goes away. It's not destroyed.
right.
Um, so, in that idea of, especially the Tibetan or Buddhist idea, that
Mhm,
this is the illusion, that there's so much more to be
mhm,
perceived
mhm,
that we aren't able to perceive. We
mhm.
just have to be open to the idea of perceiving to even start
Mhm.
to perceive it.
And I read
Mhm.
somewhere, I don't know what, I read all the time, I'm a bookworm, but talked about how psychics, like everybody truly could be a psychic and medium, but they have to open their mind. They have to like
Mhm.
utilize that, and they they just don't. Most of us are so closed-minded that we can't evolve to that point while we're in this living space. So interesting stuff though. So I still believe that aliens are already here. We just can't see them. We're too dumb. We're not there yet. So, and we're slowly slipping backwards. So I think everybody needs to pick up books and start reading or something. Ooh, I got dizzy there. That was weird.
It's a sign they're saying, yeah, pick up
Maybe.
a book, read,
Yeah.
Mhm.
expand your mind, be open, in that Adrian DeVere book, the aliens did say that, you guys are dumb. Yeah. I mean, because, to us, you're like babies,
Mhm.
on the
Mm.
human scale. But, a lot of them do have some sort of compassion for us because they were us at one point, and
Mhm. Yep.
I
All
don't know.
right. We've kept this gone for like an hour and 30 minutes now. So
Because it's so fun to talk about.
I know it is, but we're gonna have to do another one. I think we should deep dive into like psychic and paranormal stuff. Really, just dissect that. How some people are able to visually see, psychic mediums, different things like that, and the rest of us can't, or can, or who knows. I think that'd be a good one.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I'm here
Love
for
it.
it.
Maybe next week. Yeah.
Cool.
Right on.
Until then, let's say bye to our friends
Bye,
out there in
guys.
the
Thank you so
unexplained realm.
much.
All right.
Let us know of your alien encounters.
Yes, tell us about those.